I'm going to make this one probably a lot more brief than my other ones because the stuff that I really want to get into is going to be in different segments. So this is the end bit of my background with the church. So I have a TikTok channel. It's under Vikings Witch, same as my handle on here. And it is, I have a playlist on there called Witching, Bitching, and Musing. And in that it has a lot of my truncated versions of the stuff that I want to get into. And what the core of my religious trauma is. So in my last video, I had met my ex-husband, we had gotten married, and we were coming to Oregon, where I am now. Everything was great for 5 years or so, give or take. So we got to Oregon in November of 2006. And everything was fine. We were going to church. He had been tapped for sound. He didn't know anything about sound, but he was willing to do it. And let's see, we had, I served as a teacher in the nursery. We were both ushers. We both worked as security. Security for the church. And I'm not kidding at all by this. We're talking suits tucking into the wrist, earpieces, sunglasses, walking around. Security. That's a different story. And we were there Wednesday nights, Sundays. We were there for the functions, the dinners, the this, the that, the next thing. You know, we were there for all of it. We had dinner every Friday night at his parents' house. Our kids grew up in the church. We did all of it. We were very involved. And then
I want to play the Incredibles 3 in a game.
And then one of the worst things that can possibly happen happened. Our pastor lost her daughter. She died from cancer at 41. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. Her daughter lived in Idaho. And, she had a family of her own. And because of the way that the church is set up, south of us, there's another part to the church. And it had long time families. I mean, we're talking third, now fourth generations of people are members. So this has been going on for a really long time. Like I said, my ex-husband's family started going in 82. No, 84. Because he was born in 82, so yeah. Her daughter lived in another state, and we started seeing them more regularly. And now, mind you, this is a church that is very based on faith healing. So as long as you believe and you pray and you follow the scriptures and you're not holding unforgiveness in your heart and you're reaching for your salvation, not for your salvation, but for your the healing aspect of your salvation. There's very little doctoring that went on. It was very discouraged to see doctors for anything. Anyway, I'm not going to give their personal history on anything. It is no one's business. But suffice it to say, her daughter came down with cancer, and it was found in December of 2010, and horribly, she died in May of 2011 at 41 years old, so younger than I am now. It was awful. So many people are so close. And what we couldn't see at the time was how her daughter and her daughter's death had been the pillar that started the fall of the House of Usher, so to speak. That set off a chain of events, some of which I'm going to get into, some of which I'm not going to get into. But it set off a chain of events that changed everything. It changed everyone. There's going to be parts that's going to be very difficult to include in this story because, one, I'm not going to put identities out there. I'm not going to name the church. I'm not going to name the pastor. I'm not naming anybody. I'm not giving the location. I'm not going to put intimate family details and personal information on the fucking internet. I'm not doing it. Because it's not about that. So I'm going to leave it in generalized aspects and say that her death rocked the pastor and her husband more than I think any of us could realize at the time. And I believe it.
The Incredibles Lego game.
Give me a minute. I believe it created a vulnerability and an accessibility to the infrastructure of the church itself. And it allowed snakes to come in. And a couple of them in particular slithered in. And I said right from the get-go, this is not good. These are not good people. What's happening is bad. And of course I was wrong. Because they were beloved by everybody. And boy, did they climb the ladder. And they got right on up there. And right on into everything. And the fallout from that was people lost their jobs. People that were actually employed by the church. The structures, the hierarchies, it changed. All the way around. The people that were in power, so to speak, changed. one of these people became very close to our family. And they were supposed to be being mentored. And instead, a friendship was forged, which further created significant vulnerability. To the point where, as we would go over to my ex-in-law's house, these people were there a lot. They were there for holidays. They were there on Thanksgiving. They were there on Christmas. And it's not like these people didn't have a family. They had plenty of family. Shh. They had plenty of family. My ex-husband is the son of the family. They had 2 kids, my ex and my sister-in-law. And when we would go over there, he was not given a seat in his parents' home. He had to stand because those people were there. And slowly but surely, he was very much edged out from his place. And it hurt him. He wouldn't say it, but it hurt him. I went to the pastor. Hold on.
You hug.
Kiddo wanted a hug. So I went to the pastor and I said, this is wrong. This is not okay. For an only son to be discarded. And I was told that this had nothing to do with me. That if he had a problem with it, he's the one that should say something. He's a very docile person. He would never. That the Bible teaches that where sin abounds, grace abounds that much more. And because I was complaining, because I had a problem with it, and there was no sin against me, there was no grace for me to be forgiven for having taken offense. Basically, fuck off. If he has a problem with it, he can deal with it. But we don't want to rock the boat with these very important people. He started to change. He became very committed. I got to the point where I was tired of, in all these years, no one else can figure out how to work sound for one service a month. I was tired of never going to church as a family, because that's the way it went. You went, but everyone was split up. Everybody had to go do something else. Everybody was assigned to something, and there was no family structure. I was in the wrong for that. Back in 2008, my ex-husband got really, really, really sick. he's a stubborn ass. And I took him to the hospital. He went to the emergency room one day. Overnight, he got worse. After they sent him home, took him back the next day. And they did this barrage of tests. He was incredibly sick. And I had 3 different doctors tell me that if I hadn't gotten him into the hospital when I did, I would have woken up next to a corpse, because his throat was swelling shut and he was so weak that he wouldn't have been able to reach over and tap my shoulder to let me know that he couldn't breathe. Once again, I'm just exaggerating. I'm being dramatic. He got no visitors. It was 4 or 5 days into it before his mother and sister came. I had called the church. I spoke with his mother because she was the church secretary. And I said, this is what's going on. He's sick. We need the elders to come. Because according to scripture, it's in 1 Timothy, I think, that if anyone is sick and they call on the elders to come, and the elders will come and lay their hands on them and pray, and the prayer of faith will heal them. So that's what I did. I called, I asked for the elders. Nobody came. Not a phone call. Not nothing. In the meantime, I had just started a new job probably 2 months before. I had a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old. And he's laying in the hospital trying to stay alive. And he was in for 4 or 5 days. It was ugly. And after that, he was on some heavy shit as far as medication goes. He had a sore throat, is the message that was passed on. He had a sore throat. And then, so he ended up getting better. It really, really, really did a number on his system. And there are lasting effects to this day. And a while after that, I was talking to the pastor, and I said, why didn't anyone come? And I was told, I'm still so mad about this, I could spit nails. I was told that because I did not follow scripture protocol, that the one who was sick is the one that was to call for the elders to come. He couldn't speak. He was dying. But I was wrong, because I called instead of him. I called and asked for the healing team to be activated. It's not okay. And I have a long history of all kinds of shit that went down with that place. I'm going to close off my history with this, and after this I'll start making instances of examples. I'm probably going to have to write them all down or something to trigger my memory as it comes to me. I had told my ex-husband, and he knew about my history with searching. I had told him if for any reason ever this falls apart, don't bang. For any reason ever this falls apart, I'm done. Because I won't do this again. I can't get into this again. I can't go through this again. And if it's not this, then it's nothing. And I meant it. My ex-husband and I were married for 11 years. We were divorced in 2016. And I married my husband 11 days later. And it's not like it sounds, but that's what happened. My husband he's incredible. He is so freeing, and he's so loving and kind, and he accepts me for being exactly who and what I am. He wants me to seek, explore, do, and practice whatever is right for me. He has his thoughts on things, he has his philosophies on things, and he supports me in how I try to be there for people and reach out to people and do right by people on a spiritual basis in the ways that I'm capable of. Which isn't much of anything. All I can do is kind of be there for people here and there. I don't have some lofty goal or anything of the sort, and I'm not trying to trash religion. I'm trying to be a help where I can. And probably work out some of my own pain just by talking about this and making it public.
You see what I'm sitting in?
I see. My kid's in his laundry basket.
Hey.
So, my husband is a beautiful man who supports everything. And I've never been happier. And with him, I was able to return to my heart, my roots, my soul, which is a large part of that is in my practice of the craft. And it's so freeing to finally be able to say, yes, I'm a witch and I am totally out of the broom closet, and I have a very, very liberating life now where I can be exactly who and what I want to be. I have no restrictions. I have no judgments. I am me. This is exactly what you get. I have no filter. I have no fucks to give, and I have nothing to hide. And the people that are in my life because they want to be here, because they love me for being exactly who and what I am. And I accept people for exactly who and what they are. And I have a very loving, free life. And my kids are free. My ex-husband went on to marry someone who, as far as I can tell, is perfect for him. She's, from what I gather, she's a wonderful person, and they're very happy together. She does not go to his church. He is still there. And ultimately, the reason why I divorced him was because it wasn't because he was a bad guy. There's nothing bad about him whatsoever. Yeah, we're exes, so we're gonna spit and spittle a little bit at each other for dumb shit. But that's all it ever is dumb shit. Would you please stop bouncing? Thank you. He's a good man. There's nothing abusive about him. He's not a liar. He's not a cheater. He's not a bad person. His family, they're good people. They are good people. And when I see his family now, you know, we laugh and cut up and crack up and everything. You know, and my son is happy. We split him 50-50, and it sucks. I hate co-parenting. But it is what it is. He's 16 now. I'm not going to get into my son's feelings on things. Hold on.
He said,
I'm not going to get into what my son feels about things one way or another because he is 16 and it's his life, and I'm not going to put his feelings or his business out there. I won't do it. And it is a source of contention in some ways. We'll let that go. But he's good. Life is good. Life is good now, and I have... Shh. He's watching something about Minions. Stop it. I have so much to live for. And obviously this is not shorter than the others I was expecting it was going to be. Sorry. I have so much to live for. I have a beautiful, wonderful, happy, fantastic life. I had another child. We adopted a child. I physically had another child, and we adopted another child. So now I have 4 children. I have a charmed, beautiful, wonderful life, and I believe with all my heart that the divine brought me to this point. And it was so fucking hard for so long, but I was kept alive through it. And looking back and being able to see the course of events and the people that came into my life and left my life and the things that happened, I'm able to see now the purposes of it. And it's been a long, difficult fucking journey. So worth it. Would you stop, please? Hush. 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 It's been worth it because I get to come out to the other side and have the wisdom that I have and the abilities that I have now to be able to share. Stop it. And help people. And that's what... Please stop. Do you want to get in trouble? Please stop. I'm able to be home with that. I'm able to have a wonderful life. So you can get through this shit. You can get to the other side of it. You can get to the point where there's a reason. And sometimes you're lucky enough to be able to see why shit went down the way it did, why things worked out, why the people came into your life and left your life, why. And sometimes you're able to have the apologies and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you just have to accept that those apologies are never going to come. The I'm sorry that you really need to hear, it's not coming. Sometimes it does. Sometimes, like the book of Isaiah says, there's beauty in ashes. It's up to you what you're going to do with it. I hope my story is able to help. And if it's not, chuck it in the fuck it bucket. I will be back with tales of more. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm not putting my finger on it right now. But if it comes to me, I will see you again. And hold on to what's worth holding on to. And let go of what you can't hold on to. Because no matter how hard you try to hold on to something, if it's not for you, you're not going to keep it. So I send great love to anyone who watches this.